The used car bubble is popping faster than it did in 2009. We take a look at the value of used vehicles. We can see that on average for decades, it pretty much climbed at a very steady pace. There was a big collapse and then a big recovery in 2008 to 2009. And now since 2020, obviously there was a giant spike in the price of used vehicles, and it looks like that has now turned around. As a result of this, Americans are not paying their car payments. We are seeing repossessions at a record high. There are a couple forces at play here. Number one, obviously in 2020, people were flush with spending power. People were at home, people got stimulus checks, people got advanced tax credit payments. The majority of the extra cash that people had came from refinancing their homes, so their mortgages were lower payments than they used to be, so that's more income to spend on other things. Also, cash out refinances, so people got a lump sum that they were able to then spend on, maybe a new car. And then also, with all that extra spending, it gave people a cushion to go out and look for better jobs. For years or decades, Americans have been stuck in jobs that they really dislike, and that all started to unwind in 2020 as employers were basically forced to offer better and better jobs, better conditions, better pay, because all their workers were just leaving. If you've got 30 grand in the bank account, you can afford to last a few months while you search for another job. So you'd go to your employer and say, I quit unless you give me these conditions, work from home, better hours, better pay. And if they say no, you quit, they're going to have to hire somebody else who's also demanding those conditions anyway. So the Great Resignation allowed many people much better job opportunities. This also increased spending power. And so, like many other things, this increased demand for cars. That's one of the reasons why we saw such a massive spike in the price of used cars. But this was specific to used cars because this wasn't the only thing going on here. Yes, there was increased demand, but there was also a shorter supply because of new car supply chain issues. Now, obviously the supply chain issues were themselves a symptom of increased demand of everything. However, with chips specifically, they weren't able to deliver as many new cars as they used to be able to deliver. What this meant was that anybody who wanted a new car was going to have to suffer for a used car. Because cars are depreciating, they're consumable good. Cars get in accidents, they break down. And so the fleet, absent new supply, would start to quickly dwindle. And so as the supply is lower than it normally would be, and as demand goes up, obviously the result is a price spike. Now fast forward to 2022. A lot of this has started to abate, but people, especially Americans, still want that nice shiny new car. The problem is they're already loaded up with debt. Interest rates are rising now. People go in to get a new car, and normally they wouldn't be approved. But times are not normal right now, and so what lenders started to do is approve the new loans without checking on the old loans. Normally, you go in to apply for a car loan, and they say, okay, well, yep, we'll give you this new loan for this new car as long as you use this amount of it to pay off the old loan, and then you only have this much car loan. They stopped doing that. Instead, they just thought to themselves, well, look, if I give you this new car loan for this nice new car, and you still have that old car loan on that old car, and you're probably gonna default, but which one are you gonna default on? The nice new one that you like more, or the old dirty one that you like less? You're probably gonna default on the old one. You don't care if it gets repossessed because you still have your new car. Now, obviously this can't continue forever because the ones who start making those new loans without checking on the old ones, well, that starts to happen back to them. And so it's a vicious circle that will come to an end very quickly, which is starting to happen right now. We are seeing a spike in auto delinquencies like we have not seen in, well, not forever, because there was this spike that happened in the 90s, which I don't know the reason for that, what was going on in the 90s. Maybe just over leveraged Americans like normal. But in any case, right now we are seeing a massive spike in delinquencies. Delinquencies first, and then defaults, and then repossessions. So what are the results of this? Number one, we're going to see more used cars available for the supply. This will continue to push prices down. So if if you need a new car, very likely you're going to continue to see better and better deals for the next 6 months or so as this new supply starts to hit the market. Chances are prices don't completely collapse and you don't look at a car and think that's a great deal, because we have a long way to fall before used car prices even hit the average trend line from before. And given the fact that cars get used up and prices went up a lot, it'll take a lot to push those prices all the way back down to where they were before. But it's likely to be better than it is right now. The second thing that goes on with something like this is everybody who participates in defaulting and repossessions, their credit gets destroyed. How much more debt do you think they're going to be able to apply for and get approved for with something like that on their recent credit score? Not much. And with a system that is already deleveraging, with the Fed letting assets bleed off their balance sheet, which sucks money out of circulation, with interest rates going up, and now you have auto loan delinquencies, repossessions, people's credit scores getting hurt across the board, the money supply in circulation starts to tank rapidly because our money supply is built on debt. And the only way our money supply continues to increase is if the debt load continues to increase. And with a big portion of Americans getting to the point where they can no longer increase their own money supply through more debt, that means America on average, money supply going down. As the money supply goes down, that also means incomes go down, especially incomes for companies. Revenues go down. That means earnings, profits go down. That means hours get cut. That means jobs get cut. That means layoffs. That means pay cuts. So you have one person's income equals another person's expenses. We are entering into the classic deflationary death spiral here. We are seeing higher interest rates, over-leveraged households, defaults, delinquencies, lower credit scores, reduced expenses as a result, which means reduced incomes, reduced expenses, reduced incomes, reduced expenses, and so on and so forth. So economically speaking, have we hit the bottom yet? Not even close. We have just begun to unwind. And for those of you out there like me who look at painfully economic times as a time to be greedy when others are fearful, buy good world-class assets when they're on sale, get my bear market investing guide linked in the description below. It'll teach you how to identify the best companies in the world and then also figure out what price you should be buying them at to know you're getting a good deal. As always, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.